Hello children, we are discussing chapter 4 of your book, that is materials, metals and non-metals. In our previous video, we discussed some topics. Before moving ahead, first we'll revise them. The first thing which we have discussed was matter. Anything which has a particular mass, which has a fixed or certain mass and occupies a fixed space, that thing is known as matter. Air, chair, wood, table, body, clothes, mobile phones, electric gadgets, all those things occupy a fixed space and has a fixed mass. That is why they are all included in matter. Then we classify the matter into various forms like pure substances and compounds or mixtures. What are pure substances? The substances, the matter which are composed of one type of particles are known as pure substances, which are further classified into two forms, elements and compounds. So elements and compounds both are examples of pure substances. Next, mixtures. When two or more than two pure substances are mixed together, then that will lead to the formation of mixtures. That you will study in your higher classes, in your 9th class. Then we will discuss what is an element, that we will discuss in this chapter in detail. What is an element? Element is a pure substance which cannot be split up into two or more simpler substances by simple chemical means like the application of heat, application of light or application of electrical energy. By these simple chemical methods, when a substance does not break into simpler substances, then that is known as element. Or you can write, element is a pure substance which is made up of one type of atoms which are not chemically bonded to each other. एलिमेंट वो सब्सटेंस है बच्चे जिसमें एक ही तरह के एटम्स होते हैं और वो एटम्स आपस में केमिकली बॉन्डेड नहीं है. नेक्स्ट वन, these elements are further classified into metals, non-metals and metalloids. Metals are the elements which are hard, which has a luster over it, which are good conductors of electricity, and non-metals are the just exact opposite to metals. They are not very much hard. The non-metals are usually poor conductors of electricity. They are dull in nature. So they are just exact opposite to the metals. And the third ones are metalloids. What are metalloids? The elements which shows the characteristics, which shows the properties of both metals and non-metals are known as metalloids. Next, the occurrence of elements. There is a table formed in your book, I'll explain you that table. There are certain elements which occur in the nature in free state as well as in the combined state. About the non-metals, we have discussed the nitrogen. It is the non-metal, which occur in the free state in the atmosphere. 78% of the atmosphere has nitrogen gas, N2 gas. Nitrogen also found in the form of compounds like nitrates in the soil, in the seawater. Nitrogen is also found in the form of proteins, amino acids in the living systems. Next, oxygen, the life-supporting gas. 21% of atmosphere gas or air is composed of oxygen gas. Rather than that, oxygen is also found as a molecular form in the water, H2O. Oxygen is also found in the earth crust in the form of carbonates, CO3, sulfates, SO4. So these molecules contain oxygen gas, oxygen element basically. Carbon. Carbon exists in nature in the free state in the form of graphite, coal, combined form in the form of petroleum, natural gas, as well as carbon is also part of living systems. Our body is majorly composed of carbon and hydrogen. So, in combined form, The metals also exist in nature, like sodium, potassium, aluminium. These are metals. They are found in the combined state. Their oxides, their chlorides are found in the nature. For example, sodium is found in the form of sodium chloride. Sodium chloride is present in sea water, makes it salty. Sodium chloride is the table salt which we used to eat. So that is the combined form of the metals. Some metals which are very less reactive, like gold, silver, platinum, they exist in the free state. They do not combine with other gases like oxygen, hydrogen, etc. and found in free state. Likewise, iodine is a non-metal which found in sea water. आयोडीन एक ऐसा नॉन मेटल है बच्चे जो सी वाटर में कंबाइंड फॉर्म में पाया जाता है. Some non-metals like hydrogen, oxygen, chlorine, nitrogen, they are found in the gaseous form. So that is the occurrence of metals and non-metals. But usually metal occurs or metal extracted from the ores. What are ores? These are the minerals from which the metals can be extracted, from which we can get the metal, from where we get exclude the metals, purified the metals in its most convenient and profitable form, that is known as ores. So minerals from which we extract the pure metals conveniently and profitably are known as ores. Next, what's gangue? What is gangue? The ores like aluminium ore, bauxite, iron ore, ferrite or pyrite ore, these are ores. The copper ore is known as copper glans. They present in earth crust. So when we dig the earth crust, जब हम earth की खुदाई करेंगे, so these ore particles also contain certain earthy or rocky impurities. The earthy or sand particles, those impurities are known as gangue. These impurities must be removed from those ores so that we can extract the pure metal easily. So those earthy or rocky impurities which comes or which are found along with the ores are known as gangue. Next we'll discuss metallurgy. The term metallurgy, we didn't discuss the processes. We'll never discuss the processes in detail in class 8. The metallurgical processes will come in class 10th. What is metallurgy? It is the series of processes, series of steps by which we can extract the pure metal from its ore is known as metallurgy. So it is the series of processes carried out to extract the pure metals from their ores is called metallurgy. Then we'll study physical properties of metals and non-metals. We'll discuss the difference between the metals and non-metals on the basis of their physical and chemical properties. First, the physical properties. The first property is physical state. The physical state of metals is generally solid. Only mercury is a metal which is liquid at room temperature. And non-metal exists in all three forms. They are solid, they are liquid as well as they gases. Bromine is the only non-metal which is liquid. Next, malleability and brittleness. Metals are malleable, that is can be converted into thin sheets, and non-metals are brittle. They are broken down into small pieces, into powdered form when they are hammered. जब उनको hammer से पीटते हैं तो वो powdered form में convert हो जाते हैं. So metals are malleable, non-metals are brittle. They are non-malleable basically. Next is ductility. Metals are ductile in nature. They can be easily withdrawn into fine and thin wires. Whereas non-metals are brittle or non-ductile, but they do not be converted or they cannot be converted into thin and long fine wires. Next is luster. Luster means chamack, shine. Metals are lustrous in nature. They gives us a shiny appearance. Whereas non-metals are non-lustrous. They are dull. Except iodine. Iodine is the only non-metal which is lustrous in nature. Next, conductivity of heat. Metals are good conductors of heat. That is why the cooking utensils are made up of metals. Lead is the only metal which is poor conductor of heat. Lead एक ऐसा metal है जो poor conductor है heat का. Next, non-metals are poor conductors of heat. Generally जितने भी non-metals हैं वो सब क्या है? Poor conductors हैं. They do not conduct heat. That is why we do not make the cooking utensils of non-metals. Conductivity of electricity, whether they allow electricity to pass through them or not. Metals are good conductors of electricity. They allow the electrical energy or electricity to pass through them very easily, whereas non-metals are poor conductors of electricity. Except graphite, which is made up of a non-metal, that is carbon, is a good conductor of electricity. Graphite is the only non-metal which is a good conductor of electricity. Next, density. Metals are, or metals have high density. Metals possess high density, except sodium and potassium. Sodium and potassium are the metals which are non-malleable, which are non-ductile, as well as have low density. Non-metals have low density. Tensile strength means mazbuti, strength, unbending, do not break easily. Metals have high tensile strength. They do not break easily, except sodium, potassium and lithium. Lithium, sodium and potassium are the metals, but they are not very hard. They do not have very high tensile strength. They can easily be cut with the help of knife. Whereas non-metals usually have low tensile strength. They do not possess much more strength. They break easily. Except diamond. Diamond is the only non-metal which has high tensile strength, which is hard in nature. In fact, diamond is the hardest natural known substance on the earth. Next, sonority. Metals are sonorous in nature, that is, they produce a ringing sound when hit hard. That is why the ringing bells of temples are made up of metals, not of non-metals, because non-metals are non-sonorous. Metals sonorous होते हैं, ringing sound produce करते हैं. Non-metal sonorous नहीं होते, वो एक ringing sound produce नहीं करते. Next, hardness. Metals are hard in nature, that is why their tensile strength is high, except lithium, sodium and potassium. These are the three metals which are soft, whereas non-metals are usually soft, except diamond. Diamond is the only non-metal which is hard. The last is melting and boiling point. The temperature at which a solid will melt, converted into liquid, and the temperature at which a liquid will be converted into gaseous form, that is known as boiling point. Metals are hard, their tensile strength is more, so their melting and boiling point is high. जब आसानी से टूटते नहीं है बच्चे तो उनका मेल्टिंग और बॉइलिंग पॉइंट हाई होता है, एक्सेप्ट cesium and gallium. Cesium is a metal which melts in our palm. अगर हम cesium को अपनी बंद मुट्ठी में रख लें तो cesium बड़ी आसानी से पिघल जाएगा. Next, non-metals possess low melting and boiling point. The melting and boiling point of non-metals is less, except diamond. Diamond is the only non-metal which has high melting and boiling point. Now we will discuss the chemical properties of metals and non-metals. The first, the reaction of metal and non-metals with air. That means oxygen gas. That is burning of metals and non-metals. For burning, for combustion, we require oxygen gas, bache. So, when metals reacts with air or oxygen, they form metallic oxides. And metallic oxides are basic in nature. Metallic oxides किस nature के होते हैं बच्चे? Basic nature के. You must have studied the acid bases salts in your previous classes बच्चे, in your previous topics. The bases are the substances which converts red litmus to blue, and the acids are the substances which convert blue litmus to red. So metals when combined with oxygen or air, they form metallic oxides which are basic in nature. That is, they convert red litmus to blue litmus. For example, sodium metal, its symbol is Na, when reacts with oxygen, that is air. G means gas and S means solid form beta. It will form sodium oxide, Na2O. Next, to balance it, we have to place 2 here and 4 here. This is balancing of reaction. When potassium, the metal potassium, when reacts with oxygen gas, then it will form potassium oxide. That is a metal oxide produced in powdered form. That is why I written S in the bracket. That is solid state. These metals, sodium and potassium, are highly reactive metals, so they react with the oxygen at room temperature. So they react at room temperature. We do not require any heat for their reaction. Next thing which we will discuss, how we will be able to know that these are basic in nature. हम कैसे जानेंगे ये basic है? When we dissolve them in water, they will form their hydroxides. Potassium oxide will form potassium hydroxide, and hydroxides are the bases bache, which converts red litmus to blue. That is why we say that whenever a metal reacts with oxygen, it will form metallic oxides, and metallic oxides are basic in nature. This one is sodium hydroxide. So if someone asks you how you will check that metal oxides are basic in nature, then the answer would be, we'll dissolve those oxides in water and then use a red litmus paper. If that red litmus is converted into blue, which is, then they are basic in nature. Next one. Some metals reacts with oxygen on heating. Like magnesium ribbon. Magnesium found in the laboratories in the form of ribbon. So when it reacts with oxygen, it will form a white color powder that is known as magnesium oxide. That is MgO, magnesium oxide. When it dissolves in water, it will form magnesium hydroxide. That is also a base, bache. So this requires heating, but potassium and sodium reacts with oxygen at room temperature. Next. Some require strong heating. That means some will react with the oxygen at strong heat at large temperatures, like iron. It reacts with oxygen gas to form iron oxide. That is also known as ferric oxide. It is also basic in nature. some metal requires prolonged heating. Prolonged means heating for a continuous long time is required, and that is copper. Copper is of reddish brown color. When reacts with oxygen gas during prolonged heating, it will convert it into a black color substance that is known as copper oxide, which is also basic in nature. So metals react with oxygen to form metallic oxides, and those metallic oxides are basic in nature. Some metal react with room temperature, some require small heating, magnesium and aluminium, some require strong heating, and some require a prolonged strong heat to react with oxygen gas. Next we'll discuss the reaction of non-metals with air. As we have discussed, the metals react with air or oxygen to form metallic oxides, which are basic in nature. Likewise, when non-metals reacts with oxygen gas or air, they will form non-metallic oxides, but these are either acidic or neutral in nature. That is, either some of the oxides will turn blue litmus to red, or they do not bring any change to the litmus paper. So the examples are when sulfur powder, this is the sulfur symbol of the sulfur, capital S, and this is small s, solid state, that is for the powdered form. When sulfur powder reacts with oxygen gas, that is air, then it will produce a gas that is sulfur dioxide. In the bracket I wrote the physical form. G means gas, this small s means solid. When sulfur reacts with oxygen gas, it will produce a gas sulfur dioxide, which is acidic in nature. How will you prove it? Pass this gas through water and it will form sulfurous acid. As its name indicates, sulfurous acid is acidic in nature, which turns blue litmus to red. So the oxide which is formed by the non-metal sulfur is acidic in nature. Next, when carbon, which is a non-metal, reacts with oxygen gas, it will form a gas that is carbon dioxide, which when mixed with water forms carbonic acid. So carbon dioxide is also a acidic nature gas which is produced by the reaction of non-metal with oxygen. When metal react with oxygen to form metallic oxides, those are basic in nature. Non-metal reacts with air or oxygen to form non-metallic oxides, which are either acidic or neutral in nature. Now we'll talk about the neutral compounds. When carbon reacts with oxygen gas and oxygen is insufficient amount, when availability of oxygen is less and carbon, which is a non-metal, reacts with oxygen, it will form carbon monoxide gas, and this is neutral in nature. This gas, when mixed with water, do not form any kind of acid. That is, it means it is a neutral gas. So non-metal reacts with air to form either neutral oxides or acidic oxides. Next example of this is when the reaction of nitrogen gas occurs with oxygen gas. Then it will form a gas that is dinitrogen oxide. this gas is also neutral in nature. So when non-metal reacts with oxygen gas or air, they will form non-metallic oxides which are either acidic or neutral in nature. Whereas when metals react with oxygen, they will form metallic oxides which are basic in nature.